well, I've heard people say, well, Rambam's following Aristotle, and Aristotle believed demons existed. Like, he disagrees with Aristotle a lot, especially on very important issues. And it's a huge misnomer. And actually, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I know you write a lot about it. I've seen on Masora.org, there's a lot of articles about demons, and I really loved your idea about their phenomenon from the imagination that we experience in isolation. So maybe you can explain to everybody your idea.
The Gemara talks about Shadim, and there's a Rashi by Noach that also talks about Shadim. So I'll use those two. The Gemara says that the Shadim are only seen in 4 places: mountaintops, in the desert, at nighttime,
and abandoned buildings, right?
And and ruins. So why are these 4 places? I mean, the demons exist. Why can't they get on a bus and go to Yerushalayim? If you're telling me that there's physical things, no. The rabbis say they only exist in 4 places for a reason. Again, the Chachamim are just not being given the due credit they deserve, because the more I learn and the more I see and they unravel, you just appreciate the depth that they had. And there's so much wisdom that they're trying to reveal to you, but they're doing it in a cloaked, metaphoric fashion. Why? To keep ideas away from people who are not ready, but to make sure it's being transmitted. And that's what Rambam did too. He said, if I don't transmit the information, I'll be guilty of a sin. If I do transmit it, I'll also be guilty of a sin, because I'm not supposed to. So this is what I do. Do it in a way where it's concealed, and I'll only speak about, points that are just very, very, amorphic, that are just cluing you in, and the person with wisdom will be able to unravel. Because if I don't tell you these ideas, I'm dying with the wisdom, and that's a sin against people. So either way he went, he was stuck. So he felt the best thing was transmit real Torah metaphysics, but do it in a way that people that can grab onto it. So Chazal did the same thing. So when they say that demons only exist in these 4 places, what you have to do is not say, well, what's the common denominator of a mountaintop, a desert, nighttime, or ruins?
Dread.
Commonality is that these are all situations of isolation, like you said. Meaning, when a person is isolated, it strikes at the most painful part of man. And there's a reason why the worst punishment in prison is what?
Solitary confinement.
Solitary confinement. Yeah. More than physical pain, the psychological pain. Tehillim, Kuf Zayin, that's a 107. You'll see 4 cases that King David says a person has to bench Gomel. And one of the cases is when he was out in the desert, but not because of food, but he was away from inhabited land. He was away from a city, meaning he was away from people. And that is devastating to a person. A person can't tolerate being away. It's so intolerable that a person will imagine, just like when you see a mirage in the desert of water when you're thirsty, you'll see a mirage of people. That's what a shade is. That's what a demon is. It's something to give you comfort when you're alone. You imagine you see others. That's all a demon is. And that's why it's only when you're in situations where you're isolated.
And Rashi says it when Noach brings the animals on the teva. Exactly. He adds that he brought demons with him.
He brings 2 of every animal, and Rashi says even demons. Why? You could answer the question.
Going into isolation.
Exactly. He was isolated from man because mankind was just killed. He was completely isolated on the teva, on the ark, for this year. And because of that Rashi is telling you that also had the experience of isolation. That's all he's saying. He didn't bring demons on. There's no such thing as a demon. Nobody ever saw a demon. There's no photograph of a demon ever. So, I mean, we have to look at reality. Rambam has a very important lesson he wrote to the community of Marseille. And he says to them, you should only believe 1 of 3 things. Something which your senses tell you, meaning I see something. I hear something, then I know it's real, right? I see the 2 of you, I know you exist. Or something which my mind tells me is true. I come into my home and the glass is intact. 2 minutes later, I come back into my home and now there's a hole in the glass. I know something pushed through the glass. A rock, a BB, a bullet. All right, glass does not do it to itself. So I can now use my mind to make a deduction. That also you can trust. Second category. And the third category is what we have from the Torah, from the rabbis. But he says anything which does not pass that litmus test, you should not accept it. So if you're being told that something has a power or that there are demons, and your mind does not tell you, there's no evidence for it, and your senses have never seen them, and you don't see this as being a literal understanding of the Torah's transmission, so Ram says there's no grounds to accept it.
But what about the Gemaras that say like the description of how to see a demon? If you want to see a demon, you take the ashes of a cat or whatever, and they give this whole like all the whole recipe of how to conceive such a thing.
Yeah, I thought about that. And if you look at the Gemara, it says that you take the male cat that's a firstborn, that's black, of a male cat that's of a firstborn. So, and then you burn it, and you put the ashes around your bed, and in the morning you'll see footprints. Very odd Gemara, very odd.
Very odd.
But there is wisdom here. Again, the rabbis are giving you amazing wisdom. First of all, they're telling you, you have to get the male cat. It's either a male or a female. Don't hold me to it, but I think it has to be black, and it has to be the offspring also of a firstborn. Now, how do you know which cats are firstborns? The answer is you can't. You can't find a cat alive today. If you didn't witness the birth, right? Even if you did witness the birth, the cat may have had another cat before this one. So the Gemara is already telling you it's going to be an impossibility. Okay? And so I think you have to deduce what the rabbis are telling you. And what they're going to tell you, now if you want to see the demons, what do you do? So now you burn it, which is a very crude type of disgusting thing, which means that the person that wants to see the demons has a very strong bend towards sadism.
Right.
Okay? And even if you do all this, you're going to see the footprints only. Meaning you're not going to see the shape. It does not say that you will see the demon. You'll see footprints. It's telling you that you're never actually going to do it. But it's an impossibility first off, because you can't determine which cat's a firstborn. So the Gemara is trying to tell you that this is not something that you will see.
So
Right?
that's a great answer. But some will argue that the rabbis in the Talmud, it's very heavily, it's a big topic, let's say, in the Bavli that comes up, but not really in the Yerushalmi, and it's not like the culture of Babylonia was very much filled with these ideas of demonology, and they had like the queen of the demons.
But you could also say that's why they had to address it.
Right. So either some of them believe in it, or are they appropriating it and kind of giving it a new definition? Like ruach ra'ah is a you can understand it maybe as germs today, because it was something that was unexplainable, but they used demons because it was kind of like, maybe it was a statement that covers all things that can't be understood.
Yeah, but isn't it better that we follow King Solomon and we say, it's true, there could be origins of where it came from, so on, but the rabbis will not mislead you. And when you look into stories like this, if a person is patient and they look into the clues the rabbis gave us, again, I'll quote King Solomon again, that the words of the wise and their riddles.
Mm-hmm.
So they're speaking in riddles, and they're trying to show you that there's something below the surface here. And use this Gemara with the other Gemara that says that the demons are only seen in 4 places. That means that it's not something which is physical, because anything physical can be moved to a 5th place, right? Like I said.
Like your bed.
Because they would be outright liars if that's the case.
Right.
Why is the demon stuck on a mountain? Let him walk
That's
down.
what you're saying, though. That's what's going on.
Right.
Because if they're saying it's found there and they're not really found there, then
Yes.
what are you saying? I hear your point.
Yeah.
So I think the wisdom is there if a person wants to look for it.
Yeah.
And again, demons have never been seen. There's no evidence.
Great.
So let's use the Rambam's words. If you didn't see it, and your mind tells you that it's not sensible, and it's not in the Torah, there's no grounds to accept it.
Right.
Okay.
The thing we touched on before, one answer that you asked about going to the graves, that which I don't know if we answered that one part, that you do go to the graves in order that the patriarchs can beseech mercy for you. So that sounds like that they see.
Masachet Ta'anit, yeah.
Yeah, so that sounds like that they're actually seeing you come to the graves, and that's going to benefit you, and they're going to see you, and there's communication going on.
Right. I actually forgot to kind of question you on that in the first.
Yeah, so that's why I'm glad I remembered that we didn't
Yeah.
answer. So what that means is that when you go to the graves of the patriarchs or other great righteous people, go, let them inspire, let their lives inspire you. But what does it mean that they will beseech mercy? It means by you going to their grave, you're demonstrating a value to them over going to somebody else or going to the mall or doing something mundane. No, what am I doing right now? I value the righteous people, and I want to remind myself of them. That activity is now something which euphemistically is they're helping you, as if they're beseeching mercy. But they're
You're
not
aligning yourself with them in a way.
meaning to say that their influence on you is going to help you. That's what Kalev did. He went to
Found inspiration.
He went to the place he needed to get, fortified, that he could stand up to these people who were going to speak against the land. He went to the grave sites of the people that God promised the land and saw the grave sites. It became concrete in his mind. It gave him the strength, the fortitude to stand up to them later on, which worked, as if they were praying. But of course they weren't praying for him. They are not on earth anymore. But the rabbi is right in a way that you have to now decipher their words. So when they say that the forefathers are now beseeching mercy, it means that your attachment to their values, you yourself are now benefiting because of your value of them. Because they live that way, their lives are now impacting you, as if they're speaking on your behalf, but they're not. You're allowing their inspiration to help you yourself.
Halivai, that should be the extent. If people can keep it at this
Yeah.
at this
Well,
level,
like I said,
we'd be in good shape. You know
To
what I
right
mean?
to the law, we have to earn the side of caution and be stringent. And the thing is, even the Ashura tree, you can't get any benefit from a tree that was used for avodah zarah, a place where people pray, and you can't get benefit from its shade and so on.
Right.
So if 95% of people are going with the wrong intention, you should really tread lightly. That's really the argument that I would say. I'm not saying I'm nobody to tell anyone what to do, but the idea is that we should be cautious and we should have the right mindset. If we're going to do these things, we have to really just think before we act.
You don't want to lose your afterlife. I want to stress that again. Check the mezuzahs and the red bendel, any type of idolatrous act. A person that's what the Rambam says, you lose your afterlife. That's something which sometimes you can't mince words. When it comes down to something where you want to help people. And what you guys are doing is fantastic. And to help people, you should encourage the other people you interview, encourage rabbis, write to the websites, which is what I do. You can't be bashful when it comes to people that are misleading others, selling them promises of give me your money and we'll pray at the Western Wall and you will get married. Or we're going to wrap this red string around Rachel's tomb and you wear it, it will protect you. No, reward and punishment. God protects you. You live righteously, that's God's system. You have to go back to the 13 principles. We have to encourage teachers, educators, leaders in communities to, the buck has to stop here. Stop the apologetics. Speak to people honestly. If you do, you'll appeal to the mind, and that is something which the rabbis did, Chazal did. Rambam was very clear. He's telling you with no, unequivocal terms, you lose your afterlife if you have idolatrous leanings and you start putting it into practice. And you could even, like Rabbi Chaim said, you could even violate idolatry in your mind. That's why it's one of the first 2 commands on the 10 commandments. The 10 commandments are written in an order, Ibn Ezra says. It goes from the first set of 10 commands. And this, again, it's a beautiful idea that there's only 3 areas a person could operate: thought, speech, and action. That's all we can do. There's nothing else. So when it comes to our relationship with God, the first of the 10 commandments, thought comes first because that's the most crucial. Our idea of God, that's the first command. Our idea that idolatry is false, that's also thought. Then comes speech. Don't swear falsely in God's name. Then comes action. Keep the Sabbath, honor your parents. So it's the order of thought, speech, action. The second 10 commandments have to do not between man and God, but between man and man. So what's most crucial between man and man? Action. Don't kill. That's number 1. Next one, adultery, also an action. Next one, don't kidnap, don't steal. Those are action. After that comes don't swear falsely in court. That's speech. And the last on the second tablet, the last of the five on the second tablet is don't desire. That's thought, because that's the least impacted when it comes to your physical relationships with men. The most crucial is physical, killing, adultery, stealing. Then your speech, don't swear falsely, don't testify, and then don't desire. But our relationship to God, it's our ideas about God that's most crucial. So the order is thought, accept one God. Second one, don't have idolatry. Third one is speech, don't swear in God's name. And then the last two, keeping the Sabbath and honoring parents. That's action, because that's the least important, even though it's important, but it's the least in terms of your relationship to God. So you see this beautiful wisdom everywhere.
It's also like the most recurring theme in all of Tanakh is fighting against idolatry. It's such a, it's so ingrained in us, it's our nature. We're constantly going to turn to it. And there's an idea that I think it's the Rambam who says that rejecting idolatry is akin to observing the Torah, right? So it's so important it was so important to Chazal and so important to the Rambam. And
I think he goes further than that. He says even all the mitzvot are supposed to basically lead you to the first two commandments.
Exactly.
It's all about that essentially.
Yes.
I mean, accepting God as one, as the ultimate.
Right.
Absolutely.
And removing of what is there. All the mitzvot are supposed to essentially carry you into that.
Yeah. And having the wrong idea of God really, it'll have a trickle down effect on everything else in, the way you view reality. So so that was really great. You want to go to the next?
Sure. All right. So Saadia Gaon famously mocked the notion of reincarnation. He sat on the seat of Rabbi Akiva before there was even a split between Sfaradim and Ashkenazim, and his chain of tradition is unquestionable. Yet, about 500 years ago, the Arizal taught that it does indeed exist. Why does this? All right, so he was undoubtedly a great chacham, but his Masorah came from an angelic revelation, or Gilu Eliyahu, according to his own words, putting aside the fact that he never wrote anything down and his teachings were revealed by his student, the great Reb Chaim Vital, and his son Shmuel Vital, an unreliable Sabbatean defector. Now it has been accepted by many Begedolim. In fact, it's become a fabric of Jewish life to some extent.
Who was the unreliable Sabbatean defector?
Shmuel Vital.
Shmuel Vital.
We actually just recorded an episode recently with a professor who went into the history of the Sabbateans, and he was instrumental in getting a lot of the Jews to turn to Sabbateanism because he had the Vital name.
Yep.
And he actually revealed some of the works that were supposedly given to him by his father. And
Father was who?
His father's Chaim Vital, the student
Chaim
of.
Vital. And Shmuel was the son?
Shmuel was the son, and he was a Sabbatean.
And what's his relationship to Arizal?
Well, the Arizal is the teacher of Chaim Vital, and Chaim Vital is the father of Shmuel Vital.
Son.
And he revealed that.
And who's communicating an endorsement of reincarnation? Which party?
Well, all of them, but it started with the Ari. And again, a lot of us would give Dam L'Chav Zchut the benefit of the doubt to the Ari because he's a very enigmatic figure, and by many accounts, he's a real Talmid Chacham. But there's a lot of things attributed to him. The fact of the matter is, right, there were certain works on the ideas of reincarnation attributed to him that were revealed by Shmuel Vital, but by most accounts, Ari believed in reincarnation.
So we're relying on a written word, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. Well, okay. So to put the question in a basically clear manner, we have the tradition of the Geonim, which absolutely rejects reincarnation, and then we have the Mekubalim, which introduced this concept and has literally taken Judaism by storm.
Right.
Most people, by the way, I wouldn't say most people even really know Kabbalah very well, but the idea of reincarnation is something that, really caught on, and it's people love to play around with it. And we wanted to get your idea of how we're supposed to go about this.
Because mainly the idea is people will want to know, they'll go to a Mekubal to find out, and this started in this period of Luriana Kabbalah, that they would go to the Mekubal to have, he would read them, you read their face, and he would tell them, their previous Gilgul and what their tikkun is. So now that this new idea became kind of popularized.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't see this reading of faces and all this palm reading. It's not part of Torah, number one. Number two, we said earlier, two opposing views, either one is wrong or both are wrong. Okay, now when it comes to reincarnation, you're talking about an event. So either the event takes place or it doesn't. So both rabbis can't be correct. So now we can't rest on a reputation. Again, Moshe Rabbeinu, we know, made mistakes. Right? He was held back from going into the land because of an error. So we cannot take a reputation and say anything this person who is respected, anything that he said now must be true. And why am I saying this? Look at the Rambam and the Ramban. They argue on each other. Look at the Gemara is full of tonight.
There's one difference though, that the Ari claims that he had a revelation. That's the problem.
It doesn't matter.
That's where it gets sticky because people will say, so was he a liar?
Again, they both can't be correct.
True.
If you're asking a question, does reincarnation exist or not? Let's look at the most authoritative source, which is not a man, but it's God.
Okay.
What did God say to Abraham? You're going to lie down and you'll rest, and you'll rest with your fathers. You're going to die and you're going to be buried. And it doesn't say you're coming back. What did Jacob do? What did Joseph do to Jacob when he passed away? He embalmed him. Right? There was no concept of reincarnation talked about. You don't have. You have stories in the Nevi'im where it talks about Eliyahu or Elisha. There was somebody who died or a child, and he lied on top of him, and he put his eyes on his eyes, his mouth on his mouth. But if you look at what the rabbis say, he did that in order to focus prayer. He was not bringing back the child. The Chazal say there, the Rishonim say, Eliyahu, Elisha, they did not bring back. They don't have power. God creates life. Only God. But they can pray. They can definitely pray. You have stories in the Gemara where the people prayed. They knew somebody, he prayed, and the rain would always come. So I mean to say the person has certain merits, so that's something which you can endorse. A person has merit. Okay, but we're talking about rain. We're talking about a natural phenomenon. Now, you don't have, except what I told you, Saul and the witch. Sounds like the witch reincarnated. So we talked about it earlier, that Radak says openly that didn't take place. The Torah is merely depicting a psychological phenomena that took place in Saul's mind. He thought that Samuel came back to life. But Radak says the two servants that were with Saul, they didn't see Samuel. They didn't hear him talk. If they were right there with him, why not? Because it was psychological. But the Torah will use a very clever maneuver at times. If he wants to show you something is real to Saul, as literal, like his psychology, his fantasy was as real to him as literal reality. So what does the Torah do? It paints that picture. It talks about it as if it was literal. But the rabbis know this is not true. Radak is outright denouncing reincarnation over here.
Well, also it says that in the Torah that no son will die for the sins of his fathers, no father will die for the sins of his sons, meaning we are responsible for our own actions.
That's a different point. That means that you don't get punished for what your father did, and the father is not going to get punished for the son, except Rashi does say that if a son is under 13, God will take him, God will kill the son as a punishment to the father, or to the parents. So that can happen because he has no merit yet. Over 13, now a person has merit, God will not punish him because the father did something. But under 13, God has the right, he created the son, and I've seen this happen where children have passed away, and they can't say it was their fault because they weren't old enough yet. They're not bar mitzvah. They're not obligated in Torah for a reason because they're not responsible yet. How come they die? We don't know. But Rashi does point out that there is that phenomena under 13, that God has a right, that this is something which will help the father, and God knows what to do with the child's soul. We don't have to worry. God knows what to do with the child's soul. There's nothing, the child is lost. If he's under that age, that's God's department. That's something.
Well, the idea is you're responsible for your own actions. But the thing is that what I've heard a lot of people who believe in this, that they'll try to point to the pasuk that says that Hashem will it's the poked avon avot al banim val banim banim, right? The idea that
they follow. Yeah. What does it say? Again, you got to look at the
yeah,
Chazal.
I know the answer. I want to hear from you.
So yeah, it says that God will visit the sins of the fathers on the sons up to the 4th generation. Why not the 5th? Look at the pasuk and start asking questions. So it's simple. It's because the father will only live long enough to influence 4 generations. After that, he's not around, and the kids are not going to follow his ways. Meaning to say, what Chazal say, God will only punish the sons if they follow in the father's way. That's why it's only up to 4 generations, if they follow. But if a person's innocent, he's not following his father's a wicked person, and he's righteous. So, Ezekiel, chapter 18, a person could be a rasha, but if he repents, God looks at him like he never sinned. Doesn't matter who your father was. If your father could be a complete rasha, God says openly that if you repent and you abandon your sin, you abandon your ways, and you don't go with adultery, and you don't rob, and you don't do injustice to the poor and the orphan, but you do the righteous to the poor and the orphan, and you give charity, and you're celibate around a person who's off limits to you. Then, if you live that way and you're righteous, God forgets all your sins. Doesn't matter if your father was wicked. So you see, the Torah openly shows you that you can be the son of a wicked person. So what does it mean that God will visit the sins of the father or the sons up to the 3rd and 4th generation? Only if they sin like the father. But it doesn't say the 5th generation, because that kid is not around that father. He died a long while after. So God, he's not going to have the influence of the sinning great-great-grandfather. All right? Now, getting back to the reincarnation, it's important to understand that, again, 2 rabbis that oppose can't both be right. We also don't have any evidence. Following the Rambam's reasoning, you never saw it. You never saw reincarnation ever, right? You do have Tanakh. You have visions, right, where it talks about that the bones got together, and then the flesh grew on top of that, and then the skin grew on top of that. So that is not reincarnation. That is resurrection. Don't think you can't.
Right.
We do have in the principles, one of the 13 principles, that God will resurrect the dead. That's something God will do.
A lot of how this stuff was revealed in the time of Chaim Vital, it was the excuse or the reason given is that we are in the Messianic age, which obviously didn't happen, but they were able to reveal secrets that the previous generations didn't know. And the problem with that is that, like, what is to me, I always wondered, like, what is so what is so crazy about this theory of transmigration of souls and all that, that it's even less like reincarnation is even, resurrection of the dead seems a lot more plausible.
There's important puzzle. So a friend of mine, Rabbi Heshi Roth, we discussed this a few years back, and he said, he says that doesn't make sense, because what's the threat of the Torah that you're going to die if you do certain sins, if you're going to come back?
Exactly.
What is God's threat that a person gets skila, that if a person shows idolatry, that he's killed, he breaks Shabbos, he's strangulation? What is this threat if you're coming back? It's just a game? Or is God saying there is terminality? On top of that, Moshe tells you, quoted the pasuk before, Ben, that Moshe says to the people, behold, I place before you today, he says, you have a choice, you Jews, you now get the Torah. You're entering into the land, and you have a choice to choose goodness and life, or to choose evil and death. That means if you choose death, you are not getting life. That's fatal. There's no, in Moshe's mind, in his speech, and he was a Navi, he was a prophet, and God endorsed those words to be in the Torah. That means God's endorsing Moshe, who said, if you choose death, you're not going to have life. That is a clear rejection of reincarnation.
And Rambam, when he talks about the finality of death, that we can't, no change can happen to our soul after death. We can't like go through rungs of perfection after death, because whatever we did in this world, that's what we're left with. So the Kabbalists have a different view. The view is that a person's neshama can go through rungs and can
Will eventually find its tikkun.
Will eventually find its tikkun, exactly. And this, but the point,
Eventually
the reason,
what?
Will eventually find its rectification, its tikkun.
yeah, and the difference, and
You
I think
you can't not get to where to. No matter what you do, you'll get to the finish line. It's just a matter of how you want to get there.
And
That's usually how it's set up.
where do we see that in the Torah?
nowhere. But I think, but the reason why I brought it up is not, it's not a, Rambam says this, the Kabbalah says that. The reason why I bring it up is because if people meditate on the idea that the Rambam is talking about, there's a sense of urgency about acting now, because we don't know when we're going to go.
Yeah.
And we have one life to live.
That's a very important lesson.
That's really why I brought it up, not because I'm trying to, I just think that, like you mentioned, if you believe that you're going to have another chance, what is the sense of urgency to change and to improve yourself? And you can just come back.
Well, again, review the psukim, that there is death for certain crimes. And what's the threat if you're just going to come back and you can do it again? And what Moshe Rabbeinu said, you either pick life or you pick death. You can't get both, Moshe is saying. You pick death, you do a sinful life, you're not getting life.
Yeah,
there is no second chance.
Exactly.
What God does with the resurrection, what's going on with that would seem to be that's people that deserve it. I mean, again, that's an area.
Yeah.
After death, and if you look at Yeshaya, Samach Gimel, it says, "Ayin lo ra'asa zulasecha." Look at, and because I'll say that, what does it mean? No eye has seen it, but you, God. It's talking about, and the Gemara goes with different interpretations. One is that the next life, no human being knows what's going on, so we can't talk about that. After the person is dead, one of the opinions are that no human eye has ever seen what happens after death, meaning you can't talk about reincarnation. Reincarnation is after death.
Well, people will say, there are those who claim they've had near-death experiences, and I don't doubt that some have had such an experience, but there's actually scientific explanation for the brain producing DMT and all that, similar to what appears in dreams, and you interpret those messages. But I think unfortunately, there are some actually who are using these near-death experiences to kind of, as a marketing pitch for their, Torah lessons, or even in other religions. You see, like every Christian atheist, when he has this experience, he has a vision of Jesus, and then a Muslim has a vision of Muhammad. Right. So
I would say use reasoning again, like we should always. Let's say you hold of reincarnation. All right, so you're gonna live, you're gonna die, and you come back, and they want to say it's to rectify, and then it stops after you rectify yourself. Okay, let's say a person doesn't rectify. He's a murderer. All right, guys, right? He murders somebody. The brother finds out and murders him. He's dead, right? So the murderer is Jack, right? And Jack kills this guy, Joe. And now Joe has got a brother, Harry. So Harry now comes and kills Jack because he's enraged. All right, the first guy, Jack, is now dead. Now he's to come back, reincarnation. And what does he do? He kills people again. Now, God's going to allow that? I mean, there's a lot of problems with this.
Yeah.
Play out the scenario that you're going to start having cruelty going on. Why bring back a murderer? Rectify? So maybe he won't rectify. I mean, he's got free will. Does that make sense? To let what do they call it today? Catch and bail?
Catch and release.
Catch and
release. Does it make sense?
That's really what it is.
That's what it's the cosmic.
That's what you're talking about over here. I mean, there has to be justice. God's not doesn't want to endanger people. And again, you don't have this in the Torah. The authoritative source is what we have to start with. That has to be it. If we find Moshe telling us you could pick life or death, not both, there is a complete rejection of reincarnation. It doesn't matter what rabbis say otherwise. Moshe Rabbeinu is God gave the Torah through Moshe. He is the authority.
Yeah.
Everybody else is second fiddle.
Yeah. And Moshe couldn't see God's face, or couldn't see God and live. I couldn't understand God and live. But some rabbi, in the year 2022, he knows why everything happened. He knows why the Holocaust happened. He knows why, it's so frustrating to hear this stuff. You're like, what? How does this kind of? God made Moshe's burial spot for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. Did Moshe of all people, reincarnation, wouldn't he deserve it? Did he get reincarnated?
Well, According to that result, he did. Yeah, they do actually put him.
According to history, he didn't.
No, yes.
Okay. So
But I wanted to also, when Benji was saying that, the idea of the finality of death and how that, creates a sense of urgency. It brought me back to my days in Or Sameach when I was very close to a certain rabbi. He was actually a chassid, a hardcore chassid. And at that time, I was very into that stuff, and we used to learn together. And then I remember one time he told me something and I was shocked. But now that when Benji said this, it just reminded me. He goes to me, he's like, every once in a while, I need to sober up. And what I do is I take the Rambam, I throw it in front of my face, and I say, because the Rambam, when death is, if you, the current is like when your soul gets cut off and you die, death is final and all that with the Rambam. And he's like, I take it in front of my face and I kind of let it soak in. Meaning he himself understood that all the things that he was learning with the reincarnation and this and the tikkun and all this, he realized that you can kind of stray from that. So he needed to kind of put himself back into place. And he would do that by throwing different things of the Rambam about the finality of, of when we die and everything to kind of sober him up from everything he was learning. And I just remembered that when you were saying that, it was very interesting. But if I were to encapsulate the idea that you've been trying to really give off this entire podcast is that, and this is something which is we tend not to do, is that people don't really learn Tanakh anymore. And if they do, they learn it in a very, it's almost like Tanakh is overlooked and it becomes really more just about contemporary voices. Mm-hmm. And Tanakh as an essential voice is almost dead today. We read the contemporary voices into the Tanakh. We don't let the Tanakh speak to us anymore. That just doesn't happen anymore. And
Rabbi Chait said, "Let the words speak to you."
Yeah, that I know.
What he meant by that is that when you learn, don't project.
Exactly. So today, learning Torah is a lot of just projecting. And from what I've uncovered from everything you've been saying, almost every question we've asked, everything that you sort of keep on going back to is, well, let's just read the Torah and let the Torah speak. And all the questions get answered. And I think that's really the core of what you're trying to give off.
Yeah, I mean, God gave us a gift. It's called the Tselem Elokim. Rabbi Chait said, God put his name on that Tselem Elokim, right? A form of God, because he wanted to show how important, he shared his name with our soul to show us how important our intellect is. And we have the intellect, no other creature has it, because God wants us to engage it. And if we do engage it, we will be able to decipher this Torah, which is cryptic. And again, it has many layers, and we keep on stripping back more and more peels. We see even more and more brilliance. And
but lo b'shamayim it's still
attainable.
It's attainable, exactly.
Yeah, if we don't use our minds, if we don't give these, Chazal and the prophets and our Rishonim, the Gaonim, all these great minds, the due credit, we're just going to assume Torah is a simplistic thing. And let me just cover ground. Let me just feel good that I could say that I learned 3 Masechtas this year. That's not the goal. Pirkei Avos will tell you the last chapter of Pirkei Avos is all about Lishma. So it's not really, if you look, it's not really part of Pirkei Avos, but they used to say it. There's only 5 chapters to Pirkei Avos. The 6th, which talks about learning Lishma, learning for the sake of learning, which means a person has no agenda. He's interested in seeing beautiful ideas. And if the person has that level, so it says right there that God will reveal to him the secrets of the Torah, because he wants to see the beauty. He wants to use his mind. He wants to use his Tselem Elokim, not just to memorize and to be able to regurgitate and to say, I've learned a lot, and to feel a sense of accomplishment, which is, again, Rabbi Chait said, it's something we inculcated from our, Gentile society, that accomplishment. That's what society is where we live, unfortunately. We're influenced by success, fame, lusts. And Torah now becomes another way that we can feel accomplishment-oriented. We use it as a sense, I've done a lot. No, Doesn't matter. Echad amarba, echad amamet. Devash you l'shem shemayim. Doesn't matter if you learned a lot or if you learned a little. The rabbis say, provided that you were learning l'shem shemayim. What's l'shem shemayim? For heaven's sake, you want to see God's wisdom. That's why He gave you a mind. You're not going to see it if you're not using it, and if you just take things literally. So forget it. It doesn't have any meaning. Does not have any meaning whatsoever. It says that the rabbis used to have a pearl in their mouth. What does that mean? They walked around with a pearl in their mouth? No. Rabbi Chet explained. It means that each rabbi gravitated towards something in his own personality he saw was good for him, and he repeated a certain verse. This rabbi had this verse. This rabbi had that verse, because he saw it was beneficial to my personality type. The other one said, this is beneficial to mine. So the pearl means a verse of Torah that they regularly repeat. And because they saw that this would help benefit them. So even a simple statement like that has to be deciphered. Certainly when you see a story about, if you want to see demons, get the male cat that's a firstborn, that's the son of a male cat that's a firstborn, and burn it, get the ashes, sprinkle around your bed, and then in the morning you'll see footprints. I mean, you can't take this, nonsensical. That means there's something below the surface. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Gaonim speak about this a lot. There's many quotes that people can find if they're listening now. All the Gaonim said that you're not supposed to take these things literally. But before we go, I want to just plug your website, Mesorah.org, because it was such an important tool for
Amazing
myself,
website.
for Bensi.
Amazing website.
Over the years, and just like tell our audience a little bit about it, as well as the religion of reason, and why you believe that rational Judaism is ideal for the modern age.
Well, rational Judaism is the only Judaism. Let's just make that clear. It's from God who's rational. Okay, God is devoid of any emotions. God is devoid of any type of mysticism, belief, which is belief without evidence. That's mystical. You want to define mystical? It's belief in something without evidence, which Rambam clearly says. you don't. I'm not going to drive up a cliff and I believe that a bridge will all of a sudden appear. People don't live that way practically. People don't believe I'll just have money fall through my roof so I quit my job. Right. All of a sudden, in religious areas where there's no personal risk, now you see the person's in a conflict, the person's in a contradiction. And there's
the Avram in the Torah is he lied twice about Sarah being his sister in order to save his life because he was using common sense. He wasn't jumping in the fiery furnace.
Right.
That's an important point.
Yeah. But you asked about the website. So Mesorah.org. It's MESORA.org. There's no H. MESORA.org. I started the site about 25 years ago because I did see a lot of difficult views in the religious community. And it's my effort to help people out, Jew and Gentile equally, that they should see the one religion. There's only one religion. God revealed himself to man only once. There's no other evidence of any other claim of any other religion. It's all blind faith. And the world should really recognize this. And unfortunately, people's insecurities lead them to believe. That's why you've got, a preponderance of religions. And but none of them have any proof. And people have written in, you can search the website, and you can see what the questions are. Well, what about this event? They think that Jesus came out of his tomb and he rose, and there are people there that saw it. So there's a response to that. Because a lot of times the question is based on false information. So that people are misled by the stories that they received. I mean, the Gospels have 4 versions, and they're all in conflict. That should tell you something. If you have a history and there's 4 different versions, that history is very questionable. In contrast, where Judaism has only one history. There's only one story of the Jews in Egypt and exiting and coming out and being led by Moses. And even the Christians and the Muslims accept it. Why? Because when you have mass witnesses of an event, there's no way that story could have been fabricated. I mean, it's an impossibility. It's impossible to fabricate something which has. You're not going to have it. People, somebody's on the George Washington Bridge, and he has this idea. I'm going to go to the news and tell them I saw a spaceship come down, and the traffic was stopped, and there was 500,000 people on the bridge at that moment, and these rocks were given to me by this spaceship. And here's a new religion. So the first thing they're going to ask me is, well, why are you the only person testifying? Where are the other 500,000 people you claim as part of your story? This story is not going to wash, and this is not going to become a religion 3,000 years later. It won't be a religion for the day. From that point forward, they'll lock up the person. That's it, because it's impossible.
Well, you'd be surprised what kind of nonsense turns into religions these days. But
Yeah, but it won't have proof. It won't have
I won't have proof. Yeah.
I mean, you can't have the story of Caesar being the only story of that era, of that person, and there's no other story unless it actually took place, because the masses do not, like Rabbi Moshe explained, you can't get masses to conspire. It's impossible. You're not going to go to a baseball stadium where there's a Subway Series, Yankees and Mets are playing, and the Yankees won. I'm not going to convince 70,000 people it was the Mets. I can't get common ground between 70,000 people to lie and say it was really the Mets when it was the Yankees. This is a simple example. You couldn't even get 100, let alone. So now you're talking about 2.5 million people, and you have the names, and you have the dates, and you have the tribes, and you have the travels. And this is something which we only have one story. The only way this story got to us is because it had to have happened. You're not going to get masses to lie and forget their history. I can't tell the whole town of New York that you were really somewhere else today. And they're going to go along with my story, and they're going to abandon what they knew they did. I can't tell them, you were on a mountain with me, and we saw this fire, and we heard words coming out of the fire. We heard a sound of words, I should say, to be accurate. They're not going to abandon their history and get that. So if Moses would have gone to the Jews and said, you were on with me on this mountain, on this date, and you all heard 2.5 million of it, because we have the numbers, 600,000 men above 20. Then you have women above 20, and then you have children. Chazal say it's about 2 million people, 2.5 million people. He's not going to convince a group of people that they were on a mountain. Ludicrous stories, lightning, thunder, and we heard intelligent voice coming out of fire. No, we were in the field farming that day. They're not going to abandon their truth and then lie to the kids about some crazy story. But now you have an entire people that have only one history throughout time. This transmission, and we're not relying on a printed, because that's a circular reasoning. We're relying on the verbal transmission that we have all the way back. Rambam has it in the beginning of his Mishnah Torah, the generations, the 40 generations, who passed it down to who. We have names and dates. There was no skip, even though Tanakh talks about a case where they found the Torah. That does not mean that there was a skip in the, there was a gap in transmission. Rambam has a gap, and he has no gap, and it goes straight through. So that's very important. So again, Mesorah, I put the site together, and it's been growing, and thank God I've had the wherewithal to keep on going. God should bless me that I can keep on doing it.
Amen.
Amen.
That interruption, and reaching people freely, answering the questions, letting as many people as possible see the truth and follow intelligence. Because again, it's an important point. God gave the Torah. That means an intelligent being that made the universe. Everything in the universe is completely wisdom. There's no emotions that make trees grow. There's no mysticism that is causing water to be the properties that it has, and how temperature interacts with the dehydration and with weather, and the human body's design. Everything has a beautiful amount, a great amount of beautiful wisdom. Now, that's the creator that made the universe is now saying, I'm giving you a Torah too. That's the same intelligent creator. So if you're going to understand the Torah, it can only be through intelligence. You cannot project agendas. You can't interpret it mystically. Then you're not studying Torah. Then you are studying your fantasies. And that's what the rest of the world does. So if you really want to, that's what the focus on Mesorah is to go to the source, see what God said. What did the Rishonim say? That we have the greatest minds, the intelligent people like Rambam, Sadigo, Forno, Radak. I mean, it has. That's really the focus. Focus is to show the beauty. This way, you can really fulfill it. But Pirkei Avos' his aim is that we get to a level where we love the wisdom. But that's only if we apply our intelligence, start to be very, very suspicious about anything that you do not see written in the Torah, and or by one of these greats that I'm mentioning, and be very, very passionate about your one life. You want to to have the greatest good. And that is only going to come by living a life of Torah and using your wisdom to uncover what Torah really is, and finding good leaders that you can trust. And again, what we should do continually is when we speak to leaders and community leaders and rabbis and teachers and schools, urge them to really go to the source, go to the fundamentals, get those 13 principles down, teach them. They're not doing this in schools. Philosophy.
Fundamentals are not being taught properly. That's the issue.
The beginning of the Mishnah Torah, understanding, and I've encapsulated a lot of this. If you look at fundamentals on Masorah, if you look at the philosophy section, there's a lot of different subcategories. You can pick the areas that are interesting. If you're Gentile, there's a whole area on just Noahide laws. You could type in Gentile. It's a search feature. Thank God Google made this great tool so that I'm using it on the site, that you can find articles instantly. And then you got, hundreds of issues of the Jewish Times you could also search. And it's something which is, I think, it was important. My friend Rivka Olenek suggested that 5 years after I started Masorah, she says, why don't you do a magazine? And I thought it was a great idea because you could really impress people with imagery and give them more than just text. So we're doing the Jewish Times now over 20 years.
It's a digital magazine, right?
Yeah, it's PDF and everything's free. Everything is free on the site. And you could share it. You can share it on Facebook. You could download it. You could print it. It's 8.5 by 11, so it works on your printer. But share it with people. Search for information that you want. Ask the questions. Send an email to the site. Always gets answered. Always gets researched. No question goes unlooked. And that's what it's about. That's what Masorah.org is all about. And the book you asked about, Religion to Reason, that was now just to have in print. I think it's good on Shabbos. You could have something where you could go through. That was a compilation of about 10 years of writing. That book came out about 11 years ago. I put out a few more books since then. You can go to the books link on the site, and there are free versions. You don't have to pay. There are free PDFs. So the bottom line here is to have a free venue for learning Torah, going back to the real source, thinking, using intelligence. This is how Torah started. This is how it should be. So, I hope that this helps as many people as possible.
Our rabbi is Rabbi Joshua Maroof, who actually has some articles on your website. And I met Rabbi Chait. He's an amazing man. For everyone who's listening, Rabbi Israel Chait. I found some of his articles online, but is there a place where we could find like his writings and his tapes or his audio?
Again, the Pirkei Avos books are on Masorah free. It's a 5-book series. They're in PDF format. You can download it, and you're going to be thrilled when you read through his Torah. The transcribed pretty much verbatim from the 1980s. He gave about 10 years of shiurim, and it's just amazing, and it's clear. It's just going to, I think those books would be fantastic. Download those Pirkei Avos, get them onto your phone, get them onto your computer. The other books, and you can see, and you could also search Rabbi Chait's name on the site. You'll see, and
his companion on Sefer Eov is incredible. Also.
I've read that. Yes.
Yeah.
That was really good.
He's a real gem.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Really, it was amazing. Sorry for taking so long. We probably went a little longer than we expected, but
I'm happy. I'm glad we covered these bases, and let's do it again soon.
Bezrat Hashem, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure, guys.
Take care.
Just mitzvah.
You too.
Thanks.